Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unknown Mysteries. I'm your host, Layla Johnson. So let's jump into for today's episode. We're going to be talking about David Ray Parker. David, also known as the Toy Box Killer, and he also American kidnapper, tormentor, serial killer, and suspect in serial killings. Ray kidnapped, raped, and tormented an unknown number of women over many decades at his house in Elephant Vermont, New Mexico. Also assisted by his accomplices, including his daughter Glenda Ray and his partner Cindy Harris. Ray was a suspect by authorities caused by his accomplices of murdering up to 60 of his victims. However, no bodies and identifying evidence has ever been uncovered and linked to him. His early years, David Parker Ray was born on November 6, 1939 in Barman, New Mexico. During his childhood, Ray and his younger sister, Peggy Ray, lived with his mother's dysfunctional parents, Russell and Dolly Parker. They owned a small ranch due to their poor financial conditions. He was spotted visiting by his violent alcoholic father, C.C. Ray, who would subject him with magazines, destructive sadness porn. During his teenage years in high school, he was bullied by his peers for his shyness around girls, which resulted in his abusive father and other drugs. Ray's sexual fantasies of raping, tormenting, and even murdering women when he was 14. His sister saw his sadness drawings and pornography pictures of bondage and practicing sexual assaults. Ray and his sisters became distant based on a statement made by Ray. He believes he had to begin strangling, assaulting women as an isolation. In a message that he tape recorded by Ray on July 23rd, 1993, he claimed, "I've been raping women ever since I was enough to jerk off and tie little girls' hands behind their back." He even alleged to his first wife that he claimed he committed his first homicide sometime in 1957 when he kidnapped a woman and tied her to a tree and tormented her and murdered her. However, officials were unable to clarify his account. His career after completing high school, Ray received the honor discharge from the United States Army, where he served and included working as a mechanic. Ray then worked as an engineerman for New Mexico's Park District for his entire of his adulthood until he was arrested. The resort location, 5 miles away from Elephant Hill, New Mexico, considered several local bars where Ray frequently from his victims. His personal life. Ray met 37-year-old Cindy Harris, who worked as a state park in True Convenience, New Mexico, and who was fleeing conviction on grand theft and drug charges in Washington state. They became romantic and involved in bondage over their sharing violent sexual fantasies. In a 1990 Lee recording, Ray took his captive that would be forced to sexually serve Cindy as well. Ray was divorced 4 times and had 2 children, including his accomplished daughter Glenda Ray. Glenda had tried to warn the FBI about her father's criminal attentions in 1986. FBI agent Doug we called Jessie Ray, claiming she alleged that her dad, David Ray, was adopting and tormenting women and selling them to buyers in Mexico. However, the allege was non-specified that the FBI was unable to arrest him. Criminal history. Ray sexually tormented, killed his victims using whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, lead-spreading bars, surgical blades, electrical shock machines, and saws. It was so that his terrible men and women were tools for years with the help of his accomplices. Some of them are alleged to have been several of the women he dated. Ray's torture room was replanted, soundproof, caged, guarded, and located many outside of his Elephant Bloom, New Mexico property, and called the Toy Box by Ray, along with numbers of sex toys, tormenting imprints, syringes, and details dialect showing ways of inflicting pain with homicide electrical gadgets to electrify his victims. And Count Ray is to believe has spent thousand million of trailer filled it with sex toys and torture devices. Reportedly, Ray had a electric company to confine his victims. Shortly as fur-lined cuffs and makeshift pens in account, there were also locks, pulleys to prevent his captors from escaping. A mirror was molded into the ceiling above the object tables, to which he strapped his victims so they wouldn't be able to see themselves be raped and tormented. He has been seen to have wanted his victims to see everything he's doing to them. Ray also put his victims in a wooden container that bent them over and immortalized them while he has been with his dog or sometimes other friends raping them. Ray often had a audio tape recording of his voice playing for his victims whenever he recanted consults. In the transfer of the tapes, Ray defined how he would release his captors, dump them by the side of the road, after drugging them with an anesthetic drug which will prevent them from reporting the assaults. I get off all mind games after getting completely through with you. You're going to be drugged up really heavy with the combining of sodium peroxide and propan. There are both hypno drugs that will make you extremely sedated to auto-hyped, and you will be getting drugged a couple of days while play with your mind. By the time I'm through with your brainwashing, you're not going to remember a thing about the adventure. He would kidnap about 4 or 5 women a year, hold them each in captivity for around 2 to 3 months. Many murdered, Ray claimed over the years, unconsidered investigation, believing that he raped, tormented, and killed up to 60 over the course of his life. But they have not been able to locate any of the remaining. A diary that Ray kept detailed that he did to each victim, but it did not disclose where he buried their bodies. In 2001, the FBI released 100 images that would complete doing the investigation. FBI believes some of the items, which include jewelry, clothes, may have been taken from the victims. FBI, along with the law enforcement partners in Mexico, and got to pursue several leads in search of the remaining of possible victims. David Parker Ray, Frank Fish of the field officers said, We are asking family and friends of missing people to look over their photographies, contacts if they can recognize any of these items. We're going to talk about the suspect victims. Billy Rose, 53, disappeared from Phoenix, Arizona on September 25, 1998. On September 28th of 1980, the body of an unknown man wrapped in a blue tarp was found by fishermen in Elephant Bull Lake in Elephant Blue in New Mexico. No identification was found on him, and it was determined that he has been shot in the back of the head. Undescribed deceased with ultimate identification. Forward in March 1999 was office made identical recording to describe him. In 1986, Bourne was a co-owner of Kent Mechanics, a used car business that was on the North Valley Bond Street in Phoenix, Arizona. The owner's employee Ray, who worked as a mechanic, was described as a very talented but also known as conflicting with Bulmer. While inconsiderate, Cindy started that Ray told her he had killed Bulmer and dumped his body in the Elephant River. Jean Torres, 22 years old, was last seen at the front restaurant in the 24th block of East Central in New Mexico during the last evening on September 30, 1995. She has gone to a bar with some friends earlier, then went with her girlfriend Glenda Ray. When they left to go to a restaurant, witnesses reported Glenda and Torres had an argument. Glenda later told the police she left Torres at the front restaurant, leaving her with her father, Ray, and that he and David were to the Elephant Resort in South Nin, New Mexico. Torres has never been heard from again. Ray wrote a detailed account of sexual torment and bondage of victims, including one in which described as Asian woman who felt Torres' description. The possibility were victims of a 2-page letter detailing June 1990 to a young woman named Colleen from Australia, a man named Mark. In the entry, Ray's journal, Colleen was a white woman that he adopted, murdered in December 1995. She was 18 years old, had long blonde hair, a birthmark on her chest, and she was about 660 kilometers tall. The Australian Federal Police and FBI conducted the investigation, hoping to locate Mark so that he would be able to identify Colleen and family friends, but were unable to. So her remains have never been located or linked to any assistant unidentifying or missing persons case. Sandra Parker, 22, was a homeless woman living on the street of Elephant Bull Lake who was an accomplice of Ray's daughter. She supplied her with amphetamine, cocaine. Parker was also the mother of 2 children who lived with them in the tent she bought from David. The police later discovered that Parker's boyfriend at the time was Dennis York, one of Ray's playmates. Parker disappeared on July 5, 1997, when she was abducted and subjected to 7 days of torture before accomplice Yacht strangled her to death under the orders by Ray. York told police to where he disposed of her body, where David, Parker Ray, and Jesse Ray, but the body has never been moved. York suspect has been police support the theory that Ray came back and moved the body later, in case York ever had a thought of confessing in the confusion. At 10:30 a.m. on June 30th, 1990, Randall Turner, a 60-year-old Hispanic resident, was fishing in Elephant Butte Lake. Caught on Turner's fishing line was a 80-pound gulf sack filled with what he thought was animal flesh. The sack was split along its seam. He then suspected it was human body parts, alarming the authorities. The gank sack was demanded to contain human flesh, but no organs or bones. That means that the undeniable body was mutilated and dismembered before dumping in the lake. Alleged Ray said things to do it cut them down the belly, split out their guts, filled the chest with cabbage and weights, and then used bale wire to wrap them up. For more, state police found bone fragments in Elephant Butte Lake belonging to a human leg. In 2011, DNA identified the victim as a female, but she was not linked to any other reports missing. The arrest. Cindy was abducted from a parking lot by Ray and his girlfriend, Cindy. She was taken to Elephant Butte, confined to a trailer, and tortured. After 3 days of captivity, Cindy escaped from the trailer on March 22nd, 1990. To escape, she was waiting until Ray has gone to work and then unlocked her change with the key that Cindy had left on the table. Cynthia attempted to escape and fight her way out. During the struggle, Cindy broke a lamp on the captive's head, but Cynthia unlocked her chains and stabbed Cindy in the neck with the ice pick. Cynthia fled while wearing only an iron slave collar. Padlocking the chain, she ran down the street seeking help. While she got from a nearby homemaker who took her in, comforted her, called the police. Her escape led off to the trailer, investigated and captured Ray and his accomplice. Police interrogated Ray and Cindy. Another victim, Angela, comes forward with a similar story to Cynthia's. She said she's been held captive by Ray after Cynthia invited her to her house to pick her up a cake mix. After being raped and tortured, Angelica committed that the pair released her along the highway. She been picked up by police officers and authorities and told her what happened, but he didn't believe her. He left her at the bus stop. She also later called the police about the incident, but there had been no follow-up. Police identified another victim, Kelly Gorman, a videotape which dated from 1996. Kelly was found alive in Colorado after police identified her from a tattoo on her ankle. She testified that she has been gone in a fight with her husband and decided to spend the night playing poker with friends. Ray's daughter, Jessie, who knew Kelly, took her to a Blue Water salon in True or Convenience in New Mexico. She had been drugged. The beer was shrinking. She offered Kelly a ride home, but instead she took Kelly to her father's house. Kelly said she endured 2 days of torture before Ray drove her back to her house. Ray told her husband that he found that women incapacitated on the beach. Her husband did not believe that she could not remember where she had been, and Kelly said she did not know what to tell the police, so she didn't contact them. Her husband sued for divorce, and Kelly moved to Colorado. which she later interviewed on a cold case file about her ordeal. The Financial Bureau of Investigation sent 100,000 agents to explain Ray's property and surroundings, but no identifying human remains were found. While trial, Ray spoke to FBI profilers and said that he was infatuated by kidnapping of Colleen Stan and other sexual motive kidnapping. The FBI has spoke to Ray as early as 1989 in connection with his business manufacturing, selling bondage-related sex devices. His trial in the aftermath, a judge ruled that the case for the crimes against Cynthia, Angelica, and Kelly would be served, meaning that Ray would be tried for each separated. Prosecutors said that the damage of the case of each woman's story would otherwise have been coerced or blemishes of other accounts. The judge also ruled much of the impact found in the trailer during the 1990 raid could not been admissible in Kelly or Angela's cases, including Ray's audio tapes in which he gave details and descriptions of his abductions and torture and habit. The first trial for his crimes against Kelly resulted in a mistrial after two judges said they found her story unbelievable. Ray's defense was that the sex trailer was part of Ray's fantasy life and any sex was consensual. After a retrial, Ray was convicted on all 12 counts. A week later, his trial for committing against Cynthia agreed to a plea deal bargain, which sentenced in 2001 to 240 years in prison for North offered in the adoption and sexual torture of 3 young women at his Elephant Bureau home. The plea deal was not to allege for his daughter. Prosecutors called that surviving victims have agreed to the deal. Ray's daughter, Glenda Ray, was charged with kidnapping and criminal sexual penetration. She pled to non-contact and received 30 months and sentenced with a actual 5 years to be served on probation. In 1990, 27-year-old accomplice Dennis Ray pleaded guilty to the 1997 murder of 20-year-old Marilyn Parker in Elephant Bureau. Dennis confessed to helping Jessie Ray lure Parker into the captivity in her father's trailer. Dennis said that Parker was tortured and that Ray forced him to strangle the woman to death. Prosecutors noted that no valid evidence was found into tying to Parker Ray. Dennis was also charged with kidnapping, 2 counts of conspiracy theory, and committing a crime. Tampering with evidence, he was sentenced to 30 years. Then the Rays were not charged in Parker's murder. In 2010, Dennis was probated on serving 11 years in jail, but he was released with denying the defects in his negative plans for residence. 3 months after his release in 2011, Dennis was charged with violence in his parole. He will remain in custody, where he was served until 2001, serving the rest of his original sentence. In 2000, Cindy Harvest, who was an accomplice who testified against Ray, was receiving a year, 36 years for her role in the crime. She was scheduled to be released in 2017. She was released on July 15, 2019, after serving 2 years of her parole in prison on May 28, 2002. Ray was taken to the Lee County Corrections Facility in Harvard, New Mexico, to question by state police. He died of a heart attack before interrogation took place. Cindy later found Street Safe New Mexico, a volunteer nonprofit that works with sex workers and other people living on the street, with Christopher Bounds. as that wraps up another episode. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. Stay tuned for the next episode.